أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدين والدنيا والآخرة توفنا مسلما والحقنا بالصالحين اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا رب يسر ولا تعسر رب تمم بالخير رب زدني علما وفهما والحقنا بالصالحين والحمد لله رب العالمين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected brothers and very respected sisters and everybody watching us over the internet, Jazakumullah khair jaza for joining us this evening, this Tuesday evening. We are going through the little booklet entitled Munabbihaat, which is attributed to Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalaani qaddasallahu sirrahu al-aziz. We are on page 72 of our notes that we have given out last week. If you haven't got your notes with you, may Allah help you, so you have to put up with me. And we started a bit late today because we had some technical problems with our streaming and we had to wait, so apologies on behalf of ymatv.com. Now, we last week began to go through a saying from Yahya ibn Mu'adh rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, where he says, العلم دليل العمل والفهم رعاء العلم والعقل قائد للخير والهوى مركب للذنوب والمال رداء المتكبرين والدنيا سوق الآخرة. The Islamic knowledge, قال الله قال رسول الله, we define it as قال الله قال رسول الله, based on pure Quran and the Sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is al-ilm, is the proof, is the dalil, is the guide in terms of our amal. If our amal is based on knowledge, based on Quran and Sunnah, that is praiseworthy. If it's not based on Quran and Sunnah, that is absolutely blameworthy and it is called bid'ah. If you practice things which is not based on clear evidence from Quran and Sunnah, from the Sharia, from the fiqh, that is absolutely useless, despite the fact that you feel so good about it when you practice it. Means nothing. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your amal, it must be Sharia compliant. For it to be Sharia compliant, it must be Quran and Sunnah compliant. That means it has to be based on facts, based on knowledge, based on al-ilm. This practice amal, based on Quran and Sunnah, based on proper knowledge, sound knowledge, produces in a person what we call firstly adab. It changes your heart, your behavior changes, then this behavior is called adab. You are full of adab. That's why Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, in a saying of his, sometimes it is attributed to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, "Man la adaba lah, la ilma lah." The one who has no adab can never be said to have ilm, because they are related to one another. If a person knows a lot and yet cannot show in his behavior through adab, through sunnah, through manners, good manners, that person has misunderstood Islam. Because he has accumulated knowledge, which is dry knowledge, which shall be used against Bani Adam, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, on the Day of Judgment, because it is just a dry information on the tongue of the human being. He's like a walking, talking encyclopedia, but without the action. Only knowledge becomes virtuous, knowledge becomes valuable, knowledge becomes meaningful when it is translated into amal with adab, with adab, with adab. Without it, impossible. So this is, amal has to always have a daleel. A daleel in the sense is the guide, the one who shows you the way. Amal has to be based on the proof, daleel of ilm. So a Muslim has to be absolutely confident in whatever he does. When you believe in something, when you do something, you can't be half-half. You can't be hesitant. When you say, I do this because this is the proof, this is the daleel from Quran and Sunnah. I practice this and this is the reason. I cover my head, I'm a female, for example, I'm just giving you a typical example, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam practiced this. This is your daleels. I eat halal food because this is the reason. You need to know. I don't eat pork, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do any of the haram stuff because these are the daleels. Not because it's my culture. Pakistanis don't eat pork. That's not good enough. I am fasting during the month of Ramadan because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said so. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. You should be able to know this ayah. If you do not know Arabic, at least the reference in the Quran, what ayah, what surah, and that's your daleel. Anything and everything. Why are you growing beard, my brother? I don't know, because everybody else does in the YMA group. That's not good enough reason. You need to grow beard because you need to believe that it is sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and this is what the Sharia says. Make sense? You need to have this particular, whatever you're practicing, you need to have that confidence. That confidence comes from your guide. What is your guide? قال الله قال رسول الله. Simple equation. And why you're not doing this? I don't know. You need to have daleel also, because I can't do this at the moment because I am exempt from it. Islam says I don't have to do this at this moment because I cannot pray at the moment. I can't touch the Quran because I don't have wudu. You need to have daleel for everything. You need to have guidance from ilm. Therefore, ilm is the daleel. Ilm is the guide. Ilm is the one that holds your hand and leads your amal. And the amal is adab. Adab is the manners of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ethics of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is in a state expressed outwardly in his amal. That's called adab. That's called sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's his tradition. We emulate Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The more closely we emulate Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are more in line with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's practice amal. Therefore, we are more in line with proper Islam. And last week we also said the second point, al-fahm, sometimes translated as al-fiqh, understanding, deep understanding. Al-fahmu wi'a'ul ilm. And fahm is the vessel of al-ilm. Ilm is not something that is stored in the brain cells. We're not living in matrix where we're not machines. We plug in things and just pass on the knowledge and we know everything. That's not the thing. The reason for ilm, the purpose of ilm that exists within us is to be translated, used as a guidance in our amal, in our behavior. That's the only purpose why we have knowledge. If we're going to have knowledge and not going to be translated, but in order to be translated, you need to have understanding, fahm. You need to have fiqh. You need to understand the hikmah. You need to understand the reasons for it. You need to understand why it makes sense. Only human beings can do this. This fahm, this fiqh, is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to human beings. Animals do not have this one. They have aql, but they don't have any fikr. Fikr we call it. Human beings have the fikr. This fikr comes from aql, from ilm, from knowledge. We can discern. We can rationalize. We can use our faculty of reasoning to come to a conclusion. This is the reason. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes some khair for his servant, he gives him the understanding of the religion. This understanding is called fiqh. At the moment, we understand the word fiqh to be legislation, law. Fiqh, Islamic sacred law, Sharia rules and regulations. And the person who engages in this one we call faqih. But in the first century of Islam, during the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the word fiqh was used for understanding, fahm, deep understanding. You understand? You got my point? You say, you got it? Yeah, I got it. That's you got it business. In your heart, you understand what it means. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, two things will never and ever unite in the person, in the character of a munafiq. Two things. One is husnul khuluq, a good manners, akhlaq, adab, can never find place in the character of a munafiq. Because he doesn't believe in sunnah, he doesn't have any manners of any kind. Secondly, fiqh. This deep understanding of the religion can never get into the heart of a munafiq. Two things. It is so important. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us that, let me see if I can find it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes, man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid-deen. Fid-deen. Okay. Third, وَالْعَقْلُ قَائِدٌ لِلْخَيْرِ. Al-aql is the leader, qa'id. Leader in terms of leading, in the way to, on the way, leading towards khair, anything good and khair. In other words, aql can detect khair first. What is good? Again, where the good comes from? Sharia compliance. When you have adab, when you're thinking right. There are many types of aql. Aqlun salim is a sound aql, intellect. Wise aql, the one with the hikmah that we talked about last week. We said Islam believes in i'tidal, middle way, the balance. There is the jarbaza, the absolutely smarter, like super intelligent, but he's using everything for his egotistic wishes and desires, and he puts, what do you call, how does the expression go? Runs fingers around or something. Runs circles around people, and he's a con artist. He can trick anybody. He's a mastermind. He does all the things just for his ends. And the opposite is ifrat and tafrit, The negative, he's ahmaq, he's ablah, he is dumb, he's taken for a ride. But when it's at the balance, when you can detect what is khair and go towards khair, when you can utilize your aql for something beneficial for yourself and others, and for your higher purpose of ilahi anta maqsudi wa ridaka matlubi, you do your ibadah, you understand your purpose in life, you are so smart and intelligent in that regard, you have hikmah. You have hikmah. But this hikmah is not just comes because of this balance. Hikmah is dependent on something else. There is an external factor, external variable that affects this particular hikmah. And that was, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Ra'sul hikmah, the highest fountain of wisdom, fountainhead of wisdom, is makhafatullah, fear of Allah, yaqeen. Your iman has to be so strong in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you worship Allah as if you see Him. You prepare for akhirah as if akhirah is tomorrow. That you are so focused on your akhirah, the temptations of the dunya does not affect you. Ibadah means ibadah. Righteousness means righteousness. Keeping your word means keeping your word. Ilm means ilm. Knowledge means knowledge. Everything, mu'amala with other human beings, is all there. And you're so focused, and you use your aql towards achieving khair, achieving good. Achieving good. Two types of knowledge. Which one? The knowledge that is on the tongue, the other knowledge on the heart. This ilman nafi'ah is the feed for the aql, and aql that increases your hikmah, wisdom, which is based on makhafatullah, because the more you know knowledge, the closer you become to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you believe in the hereafter, it becomes a reality, and also in return affects your behavior. Increases your zuhd, increases your taqwa, increases your commitment for practicing the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is connected to one another. Once you have a perfect balance in this one, as a Muslim, then you have hikmah. When you don't have this foundation, these sources, your aql is nothing but a slave in the hands of your nafsul ammara. And this nafsul ammara, whatever it wishes, by default, it is always defiant. Therefore, anything that satisfies the nafsul ammara, you will do it. You will use your aql as a tool, as a weapon in the hands of your nafsul ammara. Nothing more, nothing less. Hume, one of the English philosophers, he says aql is nothing but a slave in the hands of our desires. Aql has to be balanced first. But this balance can never happen without deen, without iman, without yaqeen, without makhafatullah. When makhafatullah enters into the heart of a Muslim, fear of Allah, this person does not require any more external supervision from the police, from outside. No law is needed for this Muslim from outside. He's got the law inside. Freud says this is super ego. Not id, not ego, this is the super ego. Where he's morally so righteous that he doesn't need anything else. In modern psychology. So when you are at that level, when you have reached to that level, you become a true Muslim, you see $1 million in front of you, you will not even look at it because it doesn't belong to you. You see somebody else's namus, you see what do you call a sister, a sister, a human being, a female presents herself to you in a promiscuous manner, you don't even look at it because she doesn't belong to you. There's no nikah, there's no haram. Even if they paid you, you will not do anything because you believe the place is inside, this hikmah is inside, this knowledge is inside. Makhafatullah is in the heart of the person. That's how a Muslim is. So we need to instill this in the hearts of every child of ours. You put that love of Allah, love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is based where the foundation of the sphere is based on the love of Allah, love of Rasulullah, believe in the Akhirah. Once you instill these, makhafatullah, love of Allah, love of Rasulullah, in the hearts of your child, you can send this child to anywhere in the world. On his own, on her own. They will never deviate from the path. They will never be tempted by anything. Nothing will change him. Nothing will change him. But if the person is doing just superficial things like munafiqeen, without understanding the reasons, and as soon as they are released from your clutches of parents, or from your chains, they're free, they do lots of haram things. Because this is empty. But if this is full, with makhafatullah, that child can live, make the right choices in life. Always. Because he believes that there is akhirah. Ilahi anta maqsudi wa ridaka matlubi becomes a reality for that person. Allahumma ij'alna minhum ya rabbil alameen. The fourth one he says, wal hawa markabun lidhunub. Al hawa, desires of the nafs al-ammara, is the mount of dhunub, sins. Nafs al-ammara has a function. Nafs al-ammara is our animal self. Every human being is born with it. Our nafs, our operating system. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "A'da aduwuka allati bayna jambayk." Regard what is between your two collars as your greatest enemy. What is between my collars? My self. Excuse me, are you there? No, it's yourself, your operating system. When this ruh leaves the body, this is just a lump of flesh. That's why we respectfully bury it in the ground and al-Fatiha finished. But as long as we live, what operates us, what makes us think, what makes you listen to me right now, what you're watching me right now, is your nafs. It's the closest thing to you. Nafs is the negative aspect of the ruh itself. It is not something different, of the same thing. Nafs is developed in this world. When you are meshed with the materialistic world from alam al-amr, from the ruhani, the world of the spirits, when you came as a spirit into this world, meshed into this materialistic body, whoa, you discovered new desires. You discovered new desires, then you begin to develop something, because you can decide for yourself. Allah has given that ability to you to decide. The rider within that avatar, within you. So that nafs al-ammara is the operating system. It operates. It is so caring for you that you can't tell that you can't say it's my enemy, but it is actually your enemy. It's your greatest enemy. Even more great than shaitan alayhi al-la'na. Why? Because nafs al-ammara, yes, it has many good points. Good points in the sense that if you are tired, it tells you you're tired. If you're sleepy, it tells you go to sleep. If you're hungry, eat food. If you're sleepy, go to eat. It takes care of the avatar. But nafs al-ammara has one particular problem. By design, the default nature of nafs al-ammara is always and will always be, right at the start, defiance. Will not accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Will not accept any command from anybody. Will not accept anybody's dictate. Will not accept anybody's request. If it doesn't suit its own ways, its own desires. That's what nafs is. By default. And the desires of the nafs al-ammara, which we call hawa, caprice, sometimes capri, desires of nafs al-ammara has no upper limitation. Can never and ever be satisfied. Nafs can never be satisfied. It is bottomless pit. The more you give, the more it will want. The more you give, the more it will want. The more you give, the more it grows out of control. But Nafs al-Ammar is like a child. Can be corrected. Can be trained. If little Ahmed over there, if you just let him be, all he wants is food, play, and cause havoc in the family. Yep. If the parents don't put their foot down and say, go to sleep now, eat now, or do whatever you, he will become a monster. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave that little child as an amana in the hands of the parents to look after. Nafs can be tamed, can be educated. Nafs can go through changes in the hands of a correct teacher. Possible. But unchecked nafs will do only one thing. Defines. Dhanb, ithm. Dhunub is plural. Sins. Because everything will be anti-Allah. Everything will be anti-Islam. Everything that is anti-Sharia, nafs wants to do. Nafs has no law. No scruples. No morality. Nafs has nothing. It's worse than an animal. Animal we respect. You say to animal, sit, sit. But this one, Nafs has basic shahawat. Majority of us know. There are 5 levels. We know. But food, sleep, and desire for the opposite gender, laziness, these are common traits of Nafs al-Ammara. Shirking off responsibility, not keeping one's word, all these wonderful things for Nafs al-Ammara. You can tell a Nafs, you can see and tell a Nafs al-Ammara from miles. And many people come into this world without knowing their nafs. In a state of ghafla, they live in the clutches of Nafs al-Ammara and die in the hands of Nafs al-Ammara without any taming, any correction, any discipline of any kind. And they go to Jahannam in the same manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls this process of educating the nafs tazkiyah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. The ones who have saved themselves from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment are the ones who has purified their nafs, controlled their nafs, given education and tarbiyah to their nafs. And the ones who failed in doing this are the ones who lost. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. There is one particular hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam which really sheds amazing light onto this particular issue. If I can find it from my notes, I want to tell you this particular hadith that really fascinating. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Ma tahta dhill as-samaa." In the heavens, all of the sama, where the shade of the sama falls. In other words, the whole world. All right, whole universe. Min ilahin, amongst the gods. Or yu'batu min dunillah, that is being worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A'zama, there is nothing greater. Indallahi, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, min hawan muttaba'in. Whoa, let me put it into something that we can understand. He says, in the heavens and earth, amongst human beings, we all worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, correct? There is no other contender besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that asks to be worshipped. That human beings worship besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no other ilah. Then a nafs who leads the person by the nose, just pulls him by the nose. That people follow step by step behind, just follow nafs. Obey, obey, obey. This nafs is the greatest contender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, in reality, this is it. But of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is la sharika lah. Definitely, we know this. But in practice, when we look at how people are, how people run their lives, I'm a Muslim. You sure? Muslim means Aslam, Taslim. What does that mean? I have submitted 100% all my desires, all my wishes, all my choices, all my decision making to what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I made sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yep, physically that's what I do. But in practice, in my inner, I do everything that is opposite of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, who are you listening again? Allah or the other Allah, the other ilah, na'udhu billah. That is your nafs. You are worshipping the greatest. I'm using with a small g, not a capital G. Greatest ilah, that is nafsul ammara. That is being worshipped under the shade of the samawat. That's what we do. When push comes to shove, we prefer what our nafs wants, not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. If we did, we're a true Muslim. If we didn't, we're just majazi, symbolic Muslim. We're labeled Muslim. When we have two choices, one is against our nafs, and one is pro-Allah, the other one is pro-Allah, we always choose, what do you call? Something that our nafs wants, not against our nafs. We will never let our nafs suffer. And if it suits, the other one suits us, we will do it. Because when we do things, we do for attraction of other people. There is another saying coming, inshallah, soon. The 5, 6 things, if you look at it, the theme running through all those 5 points is the nafs. Nothing but the nafs. Shahawat of the nafs controls everything in our lives. And it is so good, it makes us feel so good when you say, nafs is your enemy. He says, what enemy, man? He loves me and I love my nafs. Self-confidence. My body is my temple. I worship my nafs. I do this, I do this. Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning, your nafs wants pizza. 3 o'clock in the morning, your nafs wants a kebab from the kebab station, the kebab caravan, with chili sauce and with barbecue sauce. You put all these in, and you drive up all there and come back. 2 o'clock in the morning. But your mom asks for a glass of water. Mom, I'm sleeping. Who's telling you? Who are you listening again? Allah says you must listen to your mom at all costs. It's fard for you. You don't listen to your mom. But tonight, Harry Potter movie, let's go. All of a sudden, yep, I'm going, I'm ready. Are we going? Harry Potter, yes. Why? Who are you listening again? Nafsul ammara. Who are you worshipping again? Because the God that you worship is the one that you listen at all times. That's what you make taslim to, submitted to. Is it Allah? Why is it so difficult to get up for Fajr? Why? Because nafs doesn't want to get up for Fajr. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Fajr. But those ashiqeen, those lovers of Allah, the true Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes them in the Quran, which has got nothing to do with us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا. Those Muslims say, رَبَّنَا يَا رَبَّنَا الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. This is their dua. الصابرين والصادقين والقانتين والمنفقين والمستغفرين بالأسحار. I've got none of those qualities. The last one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at sahar time before Fajr, in tears they are in salah. I can't even get up for Fajr. And there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, true Muslims are the ones in salah. How? Where's my nafs? Where's my Islam? And where's true Islam? Where's my nafs? Two different things. I like my friends to know me as a good Muslim. I want them to respect me. That's what my nafs wants. And when I do my ibadah, I'm full of riya. I do my salat so carefully in front of them. And with all sunnats and all the way, Subhana Rabbil Azim, in front of them so nicely. But when I'm on my own, I sometimes skip the sunnats. I only do 30-second salat for 4 rakats. I don't even know what I read in the first rakat or second rakat. I've got no idea. Who am I listening again? Nafsul Ammara. Every possible shortcut, Nafsul Ammara wants. But for a Muslim who is true Muslim, not in the hands of the caprice or the hawa of his nafs, a captive in the temptations of his nafs, slave in the hands of his nafs, worshipping his nafs, are the ones who say to the nafs, listen to me, mate. I'm not interested in you. I have a job to do. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah says, I called my nafs to come and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He refused, he says. He's teaching us. He refused. So I left him there. He says, I came back and worship myself. Nafs by definition, Imam Rabbani rahimahullah says, if you ask the nafs to come and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do something khair, it will always drag its feet, like a teenager. You ask teenagers to do something, yeah, they'll do it, but they'll be making lots of noises. Not like the person who's at, can I do it? Can I do it? It's two different things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly watching our hearts. Whether we have submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or are we obeying and worshipping our nafs, shaitan alayhi la'an. Whatever the highest form of love that you carry in your heart is your God. If your highest form of love is the desires of your nafs al-ammara, that's your God. Regardless of what you say with your lips, means nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly watching us. And dhunub, plural of the word dhanb, sins, are actually normal behavior patterns of nafsul ammara. And na'udhu billah, it becomes most dangerous, most devastating, most destructive when it becomes a habit. We call them bad habits. If you did it once or twice, you fell on your face, one thing. Make tawbah, inshallah, you're out. But if you were to make it a habitual practice of the things that nafsul ammara wants, it will control you. Because he wants to put you on automatic pilot, nafsul ammara. And through bad habits. Man, I drink. Why are you drinking? Because, I don't know, I drink. Why are you smoking? This little stick won over you, defeated you. Little stick. I thought you had intellect. You had aql. But nafs wants that little stick. Once it became a habit within you, you're a smoker, they call it. You go with the other smokers outside to find a smoking, disgusting environment to puff poison into your system. But logically, it doesn't make sense. It does not make a single sense why you smoke. But you still do. Eating, exactly the same thing. Sleeping, oversleeping, exactly the same thing. Everything that your nafs al-ammara wants is exactly the same thing. It controls you. It controls you. Dhunub, when they become a habit within you, bad habits, ulama used to say, the bad habits will only come out of your body, will come to an end when you're actually put on that ghassal's table to be washed for janazah. Right at that moment, all your bad habits are finished. No, it's not finished. Actually, the other side, it continues. You'll be having withdrawal symptoms for cigarette on the other side. But the cigarette will come to daunt you. You'll have all the harams with you in your qabr as your anis, as your friend. And when you're resurrected, they will all take form and shape, and they will be with you and follow you all the way to Jahannam. They will drag you. So our job, our duty, is to not to fall into that hawa of nafsul ammara. You need to know. You need to sit with our teachers. You need to plug into our mashayikh. You need to make the connection to that silsila. You need to find a murshid al-mukammil and put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put and make that bond with your shaykh, that muhabba. And once your muhabba and the muhabba also enters into your heart, you begin to change. Because he tells you it is the prescription and you follow. And you begin to change. It takes sometimes years to get rid of some of the old habits. Sometimes it takes years. How do you get rid of the hasad of a person, the hasad from the heart of a Muslim? How do you get kibr out of a person's heart? How do you get greed out of a person's heart? How do you get that bukhul, stinginess, from the heart of a Muslim? How do you get the tama'? How do you get out? So many lists of things that we do not see in the outer form, because outer form is just a human being. Just a, what do you call it, bodily avatar. But the writer is suffering from this. And this is also fard to correct. And how do you correct? Inna nafsa la ammaratun bisu illa ma rahima rabbi. Yusuf alayhi salam says in the Quran. Nafs by default will always ask you to do su. Always ask you to do something haram. And once it's on autopilot, many people say, what's wrong with my life? Nothing. You don't fit into the category of a human being in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're worse than the animals. بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلْ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. That's what's wrong with you. Because you worship not Allah, your nafs, your desires. So, you look like human being, suratan, in the outer form, but siratan balhum adal, you're worse than the animals. And only you know this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this, because everybody else thinks that you're an angel. Everybody thinks that you are such a great person. Yeah? But if the nafs is not corrected, and especially if they get into power and position, they make sure that people suffer. They become sadistic. They become so harmful to their environment. They exploit their environment. They become so corrupt from all the levels of politicians to anybody, any manager, any person who did not perfect their inner, they did not cleanse their inner, they are in the hands of the ghafil, jahil, nafsul ammara, they become destructive. You see it everywhere. Dictatorship, what does that mean? Someone's nafs gone berserk. That's what it means. Dictatorship means someone's nafs gone berserk. They can't control, they want everybody to worship. At the highest level of this is Fir'aun. The guy declared himself to be a god. What did he say? أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. Yeah, Tughyan, Taghut. These are terms Quran uses for the nafs gone out of whack, out of control, completely. Our tughyan is so, tagha is so strong. We don't listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say with our words, we do. But not in action. Reality is different. Many of us live in the fantasy of Islam, that we think that we are Muslims. Yes, alhamdulillah, according to Sharia, we're Muslims. Sharia only looks at your outer form. But Sharia doesn't look at your ikhlas. Sharia can never measure your ikhlas. Sharia never can measure your sakhawa, generosity of your heart. Sharia can never measure your greed in your heart. These are all conditions of the heart, where the nafs al-ammara plays things. In a saying of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال من خرج من ذل المعصية إلى عز الطاعة أغناه الله تعالى من غير مال وأيده من غير جند وأعزه من غير عشيرة. Ma'asiyah and dhunub are the same synonyms, same words. Asyan, ma'asiyah means disobedience. Dhunub means sins, act of defiance, deliberate act of defiance. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Man kharaja," he who left. What? Min dhull al-ma'asiyah. He who left the valley, comes out of the valley of humiliation that is caused by disobedience, right? Into the straight level, that beautiful, the honor level of obedience, honored level of obedience, not zigzag wise of what do you call humiliation of sin that's caused by the sin, into the straight path of ibadah, ubudiyya, ita'ah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will happen? In other words, you stop your nafs al-ammara. Stop! When your nafs al-ammara stops, you're okay, enough is enough. I had enough of you. I need to concentrate. Yep. You made tawbah, you came back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will happen? Three things, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. أغناه الله تعالى من غير مال. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will curb your greed and will make you rich of your heart, richer than the most richest person on earth. Qana'ah will come into your heart. You become the richest person. Al-qana'atu kanzun la yafna, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. When the greed from your heart is finished, you have zuhd in your heart, you don't look out, you don't try to get from the hands of other people what they have. You want to have more. You want to take from them and you want to, what do you call, hoard for yourself. That will stop. You accept your qadar, you accept your rizq. Alhamdulillah, you make shukr. You stand up and just say, hold on, I've got plenty. Here, brother, share. Share. You give it to other people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him rich without wealth. This is the first promise. Sakhawa, richness of the heart will come into your heart. Generosity will come into your heart. Nobility will come to your heart. Heart will change. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَأَيَّدَهُ, Allah will strengthen him min ghayri jundin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will strengthen him without any aid and help of any army. What do people say? I've got so many sons. I've got so many relatives. I'm an Ayyubi family. I am from Mishmish. Oh, Ya Latif. I have so many cousins, 25 cousins. If you ever lay finger on me, I'll call my cousins on you. Yeah? Or if you're a politician, if you're my party, if you're a dictator, you're a head of the state, I've got this army, that army, that army, you think that everybody's going to protect you. Yep. Oh. But if you leave the sins, ma'asiyah, and comes to ibadah, ita'ah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you such strength that other kuffar could never understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this to companions. In Battle of Badr, Abu Sufyan and others, when they talk about Battle of Badr, they say, wow, the eyewitnesses to Battle of Badr. He says, some of the companions also talking, he says, I'm running after the man, I'm going to strike his head. He says, before I reach him, his head drops on the floor. What happened? He's dead. I run for another one, what do you call, I'm going to hit him. He says, the guy just dies. The kuffar says the same thing. He says, we saw things in white, flying in the air. The malaika, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys all of them. Yeah, how many thousand malaika, 5,000 malaika came in Battle of Badr to help Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were only how many? How many people? 300 people against over 1,000 people. Armed to the teeth. They had only one horseman. One horse. Everybody's on their foot. Muslims, couple of camels. That distance, they used to take turns, or double riders on the camel. Few. What weapons? They didn't have any weapons. But kuffar, mushrikeen, Arabs, pagans were so strong. Same thing happened in Qasidiyya. Khalid ibn Walid. Oh, you should see, what's his name? Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. He sends a message to Rustam, the general of the Persians. If there are only 3,000 people against 30,000 strong army of the Persians, superpower. Can you imagine 300 Aborigines with spears in their hands? They come to Parliament House and says, we're going to get you down. All full of confidence. He says, what? He sends a message to the general. He says, listen, I'm sending you an army. Khalid ibn Walid says, who are like you, but the opposite. The more you're afraid to die, these people are, the more they want to die as a shaheed. The more you run away, like the way you want to run away, he says, they are dying to die. I mean, running to die. How can you scare a person who's already wants to die? It's impossible for you to scare a person who's already wanting, he says, I want to become a shaheed. Yes, that's it, that's my opportunity to go and fight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends help to these people. That 3,000, only 3,000 people against huge army destroys the whole lot. How? This physical 300 people? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps. Another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in the hearts of the kuffar is that wahan. Wahan is the fear. Love of this dunya and despising death. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name was mentioned, Muslims, Umar ibn Khattab's name is mentioned in the hearts of the people, kuffar, they used to have this fear. Why? He doesn't, he's only one person. But everybody's so frightened of him. The kuffar is so frightened of him. Why? Because Allah is the one, ayyadahu min ghayri jundin. Allah is the one who supports you, strengthens you without the help of any army. How? In the spiritual sense, in this ma'nawi sense. Then وَأَعَزَّهُ مِنْ غَيْرِ عَشِيرَةٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will honor you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase your honor and izzah, prestige in the sight of people without having any support. In the olden days, there was a strong correlation or relationship between the number of people you have in your clan, and you. The more numbers you have, the more you respected you are, by association. If you're just one person, nobody knows you. Nobody knows you. He says, who is he? He's nobody. He's got no one. No brothers and no sisters, no cousins. He's just a loner. Means nothing. So izzah and sharaf in this world used to come from having so many people in your clan. What do you call? Strength in numbers, as they say. But if you don't have anybody, you're just the underdog. You're nobody. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Allah will honor you without any clan. Certain people amongst what do you call? Amongst the ulama, there were only one person. Some of them did not even get married. Imam al-Nawawi, he never got married. He died at the age of 42. But his sharaf, his izzah, his respect that he received, the dua that he received from this ummah is day and night. One person. He didn't have any clans, he didn't have any ashira, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him such honor. Right? So therefore, the more we keep ourselves from the dhunub, from the sins, greater we become in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with bounties, with blessings, with favors that other human beings try to get on numbers, on wealth and everything else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you keep away from the sins, I will put you up. And when I put you up, nobody can put you down. This is the izzah and sharaf, honor given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. inshallah we will finish. The next point, I want to finish at least this saying. وَالْمَالُ رِدَاءُ الْمُتَكَبِّرِينَ. Worldly wealth, riches, which is given as a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the first place, whomever He wishes, is the garment of the mutakabbirin, the arrogant. People, something happens to people when they have wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in, I think, the 5th verse of Surah Al-Alaq, what does He say? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. Then علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Then what does He say? إن الإنسان ليطغى. Why? What's the next verse? I can't hear you. أَرَّآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. استغنى? استغنى? غنى? When they have wealth and riches, they have tughyan. What does that mean? They are not in need of anybody. They are themselves. They're independent of Allah, independent of anything. When you have, I'll give you at the what do you call it, at the lowest thing. People who are in poverty usually had difficult life when they're young. All of a sudden, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them some riches. Can you imagine Ahmed over there sitting? All of a sudden, somebody gave him a Mercedes. Latest, top of the line Mercedes, red in color. Not other. Mercedes is a prestige car. It's only a lump of materials, but it's a, what do you call, prestige car. When he's driving in the, he's driving a sports Mercedes. When he's driving on the street, what's his attitude? This one here. What is he doing? Would he be exactly the same person if he was drinking in what they call 1972 old bomb? Come on, work. When you walk, everyone's beeping at the back. The car is, Will his heart be the same? Definitely not. What causes this? A thing called Mercedes, a representative of wealth. This is what it says here. Al-mal, the wealth, is the garment of the arrogant. The arrogant. Many people, when they come into wealth, they become arrogant. They're not in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anymore because everything they can buy with. All their needs are here. So they don't make shukr. They don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They become arrogant. You should see the way they walk, full of confidence. When they sit in the restaurants, they sit like this. Hey, bring me. What? He's not a human being like you. Hey, come here, you. The attitude changes. That's called arrogance. So he says, wealth is nothing more. It's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it feeds your arrogance. Not always. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "La hasada illa fitnatain." There is no envy in Islam, admiration, except in two things. First, the man Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given wealth. He's a switched on Muslim. He knows that this wealth is just a trust and a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't give his heart to the wealth. It doesn't affect him like this. No arrogance. He's using that wealth to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure by spending in His path day and night. As a trustee. On behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given knowledge, ilm. Ilman nafi'a. With this knowledge, he acts upon it and he judges people with it. In other words, he teaches people. He is using this knowledge as a guide. Not for arrogance. Actually, wealth and knowledge is at par. Even a person may not have anything, But if his tazkiyah has not happened, he did not go through tasawwuf, he did not go through the purification process of what do you call? The ilm al-ihsan, that knowledge will also give him the same arrogance like wealth. Some of the ulama are so mutakabbirin. They have such arrogance because they did not purify their inner. That's why Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if a person's knowledge is in the increase, and while his zuhd supposed to also increase, zuhd means his detachment from the materialistic world is not increasing. I mean, the increasing from the detachment from the world. This knowledge, increase in knowledge, will only serve one purpose. That purpose is to put a distance between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, when a person becomes alim, scholar, without this purification process, what will happen? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, in a hadith narrated from Ali karramallahu wajhah, he says, Man qala inni ana alimun, he who tells others that he's an alim, I'm a scholar, nowadays it's even more subtle. I'm a student of knowledge. You also give something to yourself. He who tells himself or tells others that he's a knowledgeable person, he's an alim, وَهُوَ جَاهِلٌ, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. He is nothing but an ignoramus, full on jahil. Full on jahil. So wealth and ilm, unchecked, misunderstood, misplaced, then it becomes your biggest problem. That's called arrogance. The reason why people become arrogant, because intellectually they think that they're superior to others and they look down upon people. Why is that? Because they don't have as much as what you have. Because you're rich. Umayyah bin Khalaf, Abu Lahab, they used to look down upon people. Why? Were they smarter than the other people? No. There were many poor people much smarter than them. They became Muslims, but he didn't, because he thought he was intelligent. Intellect, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam defines arrogance as two things. If you have two things, you automatically have. In other words, like H2O, water, is defined as H, two hydrogens and one oxygen. Kibr is A and B. What is A and B? A, you do not accept the haqq, truth, when it's spoken to you. You reject the haqq, truth. You defend your own nafs, you don't accept the truth. Secondly, you look down upon people. So if you have this attitude towards people that you look down upon people, you judge people and you think that they are less than you, or when the truth is spoken to you, those two, you automatically fall into mutakabbirin, the people who have kibr, the people who have arrogance. But I don't look down upon people, but I defend myself so much. When the truth is spoken, you're half a mutakabbir. Still the same thing. And finally, Abdul Aziz Bakkina, Qaddasallahu sirrahu al-Aziz, one of our mashayikh, he used to say, you bring me anybody, I'll fix them. Any sick person, spiritually sick person, from the heart, because he is a murshid mukammil, you bring me, I'll fix them. Except the mutakabbirin, except the person with kibr. Why? Because by default, he thinks that he knows better than me. By default, he thinks that he's perfect, because above people, he looks down upon people. And by default, he doesn't accept the truth. So, except for mutakabbir person, a person with kibr, you bring me anybody, hasud, bakhil, I'll fix them all. I'll fix them all, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But you bring me a mutakabbir person, as you're wasting your time. Go somewhere else. I can't fix them. Okay? And the last statement, ad-dunya wa-dunya suqul akhirah. This dunya is the market for all, for al-akhirah, the next world. You can't win akhirah, your hereafter life of eternity, without this dunya. Dunya is the necessary evil. You cannot. Dunya is mal'una. Dunya is worthless. Dunya has nothing. Only if this also nothing and worthless if you give your heart to it. If you don't give your heart to it, you keep your heart away from dunya, dunya is the most valuable thing for a Muslim. Akhirah could only be won through dunya. You can't bypass dunya from alam al-arwah, go back to alam al-arwah. Doesn't work that way. You need to come through this world, through the wombs of your mothers, and exit through this world, through the ajal, death, the process of death. Yeah? And in between, from time of being mukallaf, baligh and baligha, until you die, you need to work good deeds. You need to gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. And this is dunya. Your experience is called dunya. Not this planet Earth is dunya. That's a different dunya. Your dunya is your experience. You have a dunya, you have a dunya, you have a dunya. I have a dunya. Our challenges are all different. Therefore, dunya is the marketplace where you do business. Of what? Hasana. Abdullah ibn Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma is one of the most pious companions of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're all pious, but this one was to the letter. Who follows the footsteps of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in everything. He says to his assistant, let's go to the market. His assistant looks at him and says, oh, you don't like shopping. You've never been to shopping. You hate the marketplaces. And you say that marketplaces are full of shaitan. Why you go to the market for? He says, to make some business. He says, what kind of a business is this? You don't have any single cent? And you want to make a business in the marketplace, in the souk, aswaq? He says, no, come with me. So what kind of business is this? So he comes along. And he says, from this moment, from the entry of the market until we come out, it's a huge marketplace with stalls, people buying and selling. Everybody that we come across, we say, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Because they're all Muslims. So each one is a 30, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. By the time we come out of the other side, we made thousands of hasana. And we turn back again, we go through it again, just giving salams. We make business of hasana, reward. How do you get hasana? Where do you get hasana? In akhirah? You can't get hasana in akhirah, it's finished. Can you get akhirah, what do you call hasana, in alam al-arwah where you came from? No, hasana could only be gotten in this world. So is sins. So this is a marketplace. A smart person, intelligent person, an aqil person, an aqila person is the one who knows his purpose of his existence. And who does everything purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with ikhlas, the essential ingredient in our behavior. And who adopts the method of taqwa. Method of taqwa. Who is trustworthy, who is sadiq, truthful, who is a person of ihsan, whose iman and yaqeen is so strong, a person of ilm guides him. Amal is pure for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows his enemies, nafsul ammara, shaitan alayhi la'ana, jahala, he keeps away from them. He is not in a state of ghafla, and he just waits to be released from this prison called dunya. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, make us of those sincere Muslims, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us through ilm, through iman, through yaqeen, through amal al-salihah, and through ikhlas, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our good deeds and keep away from us from the dhunub. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Ramadan is just around the corner. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Ramadan a special time for us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Ramadan a turning point in our lives, inshallah. When the time comes, let us die in a state of iman, kamil iman, perfect iman, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with us. And let us go through the qabr in a very, inshallah, swal of the qabr very easily. And let us go through, inshallah, be resurrected in the company of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Siddiqeen, Shuhada wa Salihin. Let us be, inshallah, in the company of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, enter into Jannah with the dukhul al-awwaleen, and become neighbors to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with our loved ones. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك لله تعالى الفاتحة.